Hi everybody, it's You Had to Ask, the show where I answer your questions. And this week's first question comes to me from Mugwump2013, who says, Number 1, what do you think of Jim Carrey's Cold Dead Hand video? Number 2, I asked earlier but you never answered, how come you have never been to New York City? Number 3, have you seen P.W. Swivel's YouTube channel? I thought the Cold Dead Hand video was funny, although I thought it went on a little long. Because it was Jim Carrey doing his really broad Jim Carrey stereotypical shtick. It reminded me a lot of an old In Living Color sketch, and I liked that because I really liked In Living Color. But yeah, it felt like it went on a little long, especially the stuff where he was doing his Heston impersonation. It was funny, but it was just, you know, and I'm funny mostly because of the song. I thought the song was very clever and well performed. Second question I asked earlier, but you never answered. How come you've never been to New York City? I've just never gone. It's not any specific reason. I'm not like staying away from New York on purpose. I would love to go. I'm sure I'll go at some point. I just haven't. And yeah, I don't think I had seen P.W. Swivel's YouTube channel. I think I might have seen one of his videos a few months ago, but I don't think I got too much into it. But I checked it out again this morning after I read your question, and it does seem really cool. I'm going to check it out a little bit more, and I might give him a shout out at some point in the near future. So thanks for the heads up on P.W. Swivel. Next from Shigeno Goro, Steve, if I may ask, why aren't you planning to have kids? We need your genes to flow on into the future. Come on, man. What the fuck? This has made me sad. My wife and I aren't planning to have kids. There are multiple reasons. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we just really don't want to be parents. I can only really speak for myself. I mean, being a parent just doesn't seem like a gig that I really want. And I mean, because I think, look, if you want to be a good parent, and all the good parents I know, including my own parents and friends of mine who have kids who are great parents, they all confirm this, that your life has to completely revolve around your child. You know, that's the only acceptable level of commitment. Your life has to begin with your child, and everything else has to come after that. That's the level of commitment, and that's the level of commitment that I would want to give to my child if I had a child, and I don't want to give that level of commitment to my child. I like doing my own thing. I like being able to pay attention to my wife. I like being able to make YouTube videos. I like being able to work with Neon Real Entertainment. There are all the things that I do that I would have to push to at least a little bit to the side to focus solely on raising a child. It's just not something I want to do, man. It's just not. I'm just not into it. And also, I think there are enough of us. I think there are enough people in the world. I'm not someone who thinks that nobody should have kids. I think obviously some of us should continue to have children. I think I'm a big fan of our species. I wish that humanity should be perpetuated, but I am going to abstain from the perpetuation of our species on a personal level. I think there are enough of us. Next one from David Lowen. Since I now know you're a wrestling fan, which I did not know before, I'm curious, what was your overall impression of this year's WrestleMania? Personally, I thought it to be probably the most boring WrestleMania of the last 10 years or so. The only matches I found somewhat watchable were Del Rio Swagger and Triple H Lesnar. Even the match with Undertaker, who has been my favorite character since his debut, I found to be decidedly meh. Here's hoping WrestleMania 30 will be a hell of a lot better. I thought it was a good show, but I agree with you. It was kind of boring, and unfortunately, it was a really great example of the type of WrestleMania show I talked about in my 5 Stupid Things About WrestleMania video that I posted a few days before the event, which is, it just doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things in terms of the storylines of the company, the positions of the wrestlers involved. Nothing that happened on the show is really all that important. I mean, yeah, John Cena won the WWE title, but John Cena was the top star in the company before that. It's really not that big of a difference. And there were actually more significant events that took place the next night on Raw than happened at the big WrestleMania pay-per-view. So, yeah, I thought CM Punk and Undertaker had a really, really, really good match. I thought that was the best match of the night. I thought that Fandango and Chris Jericho had a good match, and I liked seeing Fandango win. I like seeing new talent being pushed. So nothing stuck out as bad, but it just was, you know, none of it really mattered. Mr. Crimson Chaos. Okay, I think I got one. Stop me if you've answered this one. In the Batman universe, what are your thoughts on the Joker in contrast to Batman? And is there any other villain you think stacks up better in compliments to the overall character of Batman? I think the Joker has got to be the the number one arch villain. I think he's just sort of, his characterization has evolved to be that over the decades. I mean, it's clearly the Joker is Batman's arch nemesis. He's his Lex Luthor. He's his Green Goblin. Would it pick another superhero arch nemesis? The Joker is clearly the definitive one of those. He's the one that everybody always thinks of. And I think it's because they have positioned him as like the opposite of Batman, and because his character is so interconnected with Batman's character. The Joker has been given a level of complexity in the last 20-25 years or so, far beyond even what he had before that himself. I mean, he's not just a guy who looks like a clown and robs banks and kills people. His nature is to be obsessive about Batman, and the way I interpret the character is that like his whole world revolves around Batman. Like everything he does is meant to get Batman's attention. It's a really sick kind of obsession, sort of love relationship that he has, or feeling that he has toward Batman. That he's devoted to him in a weird way. Not that he wouldn't necessarily kill him if he had the chance, or put him in pain, make him suffer horribly, but his world revolves around Batman, and there's something really twisted and really sick, and also undeniably incredibly compelling about that. That's why that line between the Joker and Batman in The Dark Knight, where the Joker says, where he sarcastically quotes Jerry Maguire and says, "You complete me." That's why that was such a great scene. That's the Joker realizing that Batman is the one he's been waiting for, and then from that point on in the film, you see that in the Joker. Like everything he does is for Batman's benefit, is to get Batman's attention. There are other characters that I suppose you could do that with. Pretty much any great Batman villain, whether it's portrayed this way consistently or not, you could focus on aspects of their character that would position them as sort of like a contrast to Batman. I mean, Two-Face is a big one. Two-Face has been shown as an opposite number of Batman in a lot of really great Two-Face stories in the last couple of decades. The law enforcement officer, the district attorney who was scarred by crime and became a criminal, as opposed to Batman, who was scarred emotionally by crime and chose to fight crime. That sort of thing. I mean, the Riddler, you can play on the Riddler's obsession with puzzles and with leaving clues and with courting arrest but escaping, and Batman's obsession with being Batman and hunting criminals and fighting crime. And Catwoman and Batman, there are a lot of opposite things you can do. So there are other characters you can do it with that work really well when positioned as arch nemeses or opposite numbers to Batman. But yeah, obviously the Joker is the best one. The Joker is the one that has been placed in that position over the last 20-25 years. Louis Wallenberg. Hey Steve, I'm curious on a few things. What is your view of current day feminism? Is it a good or a bad influence on equal rights? Or does it only concentrate on one gender and hence focuses on female rights and not equal rights? If you think that current day feminism only concentrates on female rights, would you think it would be alright for there to be a masculinism movement which moves to give men equal rights on some issues? My views on feminism are pretty much limited to feminism as a general concept. I'm not a very close follower or student of any specific voices or current pushes or movements within feminism today. But my general feeling of feminism is that it is necessary still, because we still see areas in our society where women have significant gains yet to make. And for that reason, I think it's necessary. And you bring up something that I hear a lot from people who are sort of anti-feminist, this idea that you can criticize feminism because it focuses on female rights. Well, of course it focuses on female rights. Females are the group with the gains to make. If you want to have equal rights, then the group that doesn't yet have equal rights with a better treated, more dominant group has to be elevated to that level. And clearly, unfortunately, men are still in a superior position in many, many ways in our culture, and women have to be elevated to that position, or elevate themselves, I suppose. It's kind of patriarchal, kind of paternalistic to even say we should elevate women. You know, they should be treated equally. Everybody should be treated equally, and it's called feminism for that reason, because it's named after the out group. It's named after the group that needs to gain better treatment and better opportunity and more equal rights for there to be gender equality. And there is, I mean, there is a masculinism movement. It's called the men's rights movement, and generally speaking, I think that it's ridiculous. It does raise some legitimate issues like discrimination in family court, or the idea that only in the United States men have to register with Selective Service to potentially be drafted when we turn 18, but women don't. That's not fair. That's something that should be corrected. But overall, the men's rights movement is, to my reckoning, is just a sexist, petulant reaction to feminism, and for that reason, I don't respect it. Mantaz679, were you a fan of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 series when it was on? Please tell us what you did or didn't like about it. Also, as a bonus question, can you find a featured film in the series that you would ever watch on its own? Oh, I was such a huge fan of Mystery Science Theater. I think I've probably mentioned this once or twice, either in this series or in other videos on my channel. It was just a huge influence on my personal sense of humor, and on the way I view movies, and my attitudes toward film, and just everything. Mystery Science Theater is absolutely one of my all-time favorite shows. Funny and influential on me, and just I can't say enough good things about it. And the thing I really loved about it was that it allowed you to make fun of a movie that deserves to be made fun of, to mock something that is a failure, but yet it also had this weird kind of affection for it. Like very, very rarely would you ever get the impression that they really hated the movie they were watching. Now, you would often get that impression from the characters on screen, Mike or Joel and the robots. You would often hear them express like just open disgust or hatred or revulsion toward the film. But you also got the sense that the writers, the actors, the creators of the show had a weird sort of affection for the movie. And when you listen to the people who produce Mystery Science Theater today, and they're still doing it. You know, their cinematic Titanic, which is done by Joel and Trace and Frank Conniff and Mary Jo Pehl and Josh Weinstein. And then there's Riff Tracks, which is Mike Nelson and Kevin Murphy and Bill Corbett. They're still there, and it's the Mystery Science Theater thing. It's watching bad movies and making funny comments. They're still doing it. And if they hated these movies so much, they wouldn't be doing it. They clearly love bad movies and love mocking them, but also have a strange sort of affection for them. And I completely get it, because I feel exactly the same way. And there are lots of movies that they've done on Mystery Science Theater that I would totally watch on my own and do the same thing that they do in Mystery Science Theater. It's a wonderful experience if you've never done it. If you've never put in a cheesy movie and watched it with a group of friends and misted it, riffed on it while it's playing. It's a really fun, wonderful experience. And that's another thing about Mystery Science Theater that made it such a warm and affectionate show for me, a show that I have great warmth and affection for, I should say, is because you're watching the movie with them. You're sharing an experience with the characters. You've got Mike or Joel and Crow and Tom Servo there at the bottom of your screen in silhouette watching the movie, and you're watching the movie at the same time. You're experiencing it right along with the characters, and it's just one of the best shows ever. Bass Bait, Steve, what is your opinion on the way that the Republican Party has been acting as of late? Do you think that they need to wise up and stop targeting all of the stupid causes that they target? Or do you think that they should continue to do terrible things until they lose all popularity and we can finally cleanse them from the political spectrum as they crash and burn? And what do you think of states like North Carolina where Republicans have so much power that they can do whatever they want? Well, on that last question, I think that that's the reason that I don't want to live in states like that. I mean, I would not want to live in a state where the Republican Party had that kind of political clout. I think the problem with how the Republican Party is acting is that they don't get why they were rejected in the last presidential election. They don't get why they are still a viable party. They are still very electable in much of the country in local elections, but they're not really very competitive on a national level, or at least they haven't been the last two presidential cycles. And it's not because they have a problem getting their message out. I think the problem is their message. They did this autopsy after Obama beat Romney, and they said, oh, the problem is we didn't get out the vote enough. We didn't get our message to enough people clearly enough. And you shake your head, because the problem isn't the delivery. The problem is the message. The message is really, really offensive to a lot of people. And it's going to be very difficult to win national elections if that is your message. Now, it doesn't mean that the Republican Party is done for. They've won national elections. They've become a very powerful national party in the past, writing incredibly offensive, repugnant messages. It will probably happen again in the future. So I don't think the party is about to crash and burn by any means, but I do think that they completely miss the real cause of their present problems, nationally speaking. In a sense, it would be nice. It would be nice if the Republican Party did crash and burn and kind of just disappear, only if that vacuum were then filled by minor parties. Only if other parties were to step up, and we would, instead of a two-party system, we would have a 4 or 5 or 6-party system. That I would love. I would not like it if the Republican Party went away and we were just sort of left with the Democratic Party as the only viable national party. I don't think it would be good to have a one-party state, even if it's just a de facto one-party state in a democracy. I still am not comfortable with that. The more political parties that there are that are competitive, the better, as far as I see it. I'm going to do something a little different now. I haven't done this before, but I'm going to do it from now on. I always feel bad about having to leave out so many of the questions that you guys ask, because you always ask such awesome questions, and I just can't answer them all every week in these videos, and I end up cutting a lot of questions or ignoring a lot of questions, and I always feel like a bit of a shit for that. And then my Facebook friend Claire Small suggested something that would help to address that problem, and I'm going to implement that suggestion right now in a new segment on You Had to Ask that I have ever so creatively titled
The Lightning Round. Rapid fire questions, glib and adequate answers.
David Randall Curtis, of all your favorite movies, which one do you think has aged the best over time? 2001: A Space Odyssey. Bagser 1, who would you like to see as the Democrat and Republican candidates in the 2016 election? Jon Stewart and Andrew Sullivan. I don't have a serious answer to that question at this point. Bjorn Eric Borg, does this mean that you paid the $55 to watch WrestleMania? Yes. Fenrique, hey Steve, are we going to see you fandangoing anytime soon? No, they completely fucked that up when they acknowledged it on TV and had Fandango cut that promo on Monday. It's not cool anymore. Jay Whitmore, wrestling question, got a favorite heel turn of all time? Yeah, Barry Windham turning on Lex Luger to join the Four Horsemen. Or also Ric Flair turning on Sting in 1995 because we all saw it coming a mile away and they still did it and it was awesome. Jonah Bloom, Steve, any thoughts on football, soccer to your American ears? No. Adam Jeffrey, hi Steve, if you had to follow one of the main 6 religions, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Sikhism, Buddhism, or Hinduism, which would you choose? Which is the least shitty in your eyes? Of those you listed, the least shitty, I would say is Sikhism because that's the one I know the least about. And finally, Sinessa, are you excited about the new Superman reboot? Oh yes. Yes, yes, yes. I saw the new trailer for it a couple of days ago, and it's like fucking porn. It looks so good. I hope that the movie is a tenth as good as the trailers make it look. That's it for the lightning round. That's it for all the questions. Before I go, though, I want to do a shout-out, as always. The shout-out this week goes to Known No More. This is such an awesome channel. No No More just posted a really epic 1-hour video about theistic morality that is just awesome so far. I haven't even watched it all yet, but I'm a little ways into it, and it's just terrific so far. And the amount of work that has been put into it is just great. It's a great video. There's also a 3-part series about the presuppositional argument that is awesome, and all kinds of other stuff. A really great atheist channel. If you're not subscribed and paying attention to No No More, you should totally be subscribed and paying attention to No No More. It's an awesome channel. Check out those videos. That is it for this week. Thank you so much for asking your questions, for watching, for doing all of this shit. I can't do this unless you ask. That's sort of implicit in the title. So I will be back to do this next week if you ask me lots and lots of questions. Please, please, please do that, because I really like making these videos. I will see you next week. If you have a question for next week, leave a comment on this video and I will answer it. Possibly. There's actually a much better chance that your question will be answered now that I'm doing the lightning round at the end. You can thank my friend Claire Small for that. Thank you, Claire. That's it. See you next week. Have a good week.